You got too many cooks living in the kitchen. You don't know what you've been missing.
Welcome to At the Kitchen Table with Soraida Cross and friends. Today I'm super pumped and excited. I'm with one of my favorite people, Jose Gonzalez, former Salem City Councilor, and Senate President Pro Tem James Manning. How blessed am I? So blessed. I think that God has brought both of you into my life, and it's amazing. I don't like to introduce guests. I would love for you to just say a couple things about yourself. Jose?
Soraida, I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity, and it's great to meet the senator. It's my pleasure. And, you know, I'm actually a lifelong Oregonian, born in Portland, but never lived there. Always the Willamette Valley, farm workers, and we got into working in restaurants, and now I'm a small business owner and been living in Salem 30 years, you know, and just being involved in the community led me to run for city council. Luckily, I won, served a term, and just finished in December. So I missed that a little bit, you know, but it was a good ride, and I'm looking for other ways to get involved in the community. So yeah, my pleasure again.
Thank you.
Awesome. It is indeed an honor and pleasure to meet you as well. Soraida, thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it. Of course, I am as you had announced, I am the current Senate President Pro Tem. I'm in my third consecutive term as Senate President Pro Tem. One of the things about it, when I was first elected as President Pro Tem, it was on a split vote. Mm-hmm. The last two times, I was elected by the body unanimously. I'm enjoying this. I've been in the state Senate for 8 years now. I moved to Oregon after I retired from the United States Army in 2007. So the time has gotten away from me. I don't even know how many years I've been here because I've been concentrating on being a public servant. So that's what I enjoy. I get a chance to meet wonderful people like you. You know, this is pretty cool. I found out that Oregonians have huge hearts. They do a lot of things of their own. They give so much. Things that you've done, and really it caught my attention, the work that you do for kids, veterans, the why. My good friend, former Senate President Peter Courtney. So all of those things culminated, and I'm like, okay, when you invited me to do a podcast, I'm like, why not? But at first, I did check out your previous podcast.
Well, thank you for being here. So today, really, the whole theme of At the Kitchen Table is that us, or you or I, when we have different opinions, is that we relearn how to have healthy conflict in crucial conversations, and that we're not hiding behind keyboards, that you and I can have a discussion and maybe meet in the middle. So I thought today we could talk about how do we meet in the middle in different situations, and how do we take advantage of those relationships that we have. So, Jose, how did we form a relationship? Because you would think, how did they get together? You know, I'm going to say it. He's a Democrat. She's a Republican. Mm-hmm. Like, how did we form this great relationship?
You know, I think, on my end, right? I don't ever ask people what
Me neither.
What party they are.
Yeah.
And especially you're the best example of what a true volunteer is. And there's not that many people like that, you know, in our area. So that's how I met you. Met you just through volunteering, and no questions asked. We would just work together on some issues and got to know each other and got to know each other's families a little bit. And that's where it started. You know, it was just giving back, both of us giving back at the right time. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I so appreciate your friendship. Mm-hmm. And thank you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure.
And I will just give a shout out to Latino Business Alliance. You have taught me so much being a part of that organization. The fact that you have members introduce themselves in English and Spanish, that I brought that even over to my team during employee meetings. So today we did a whole word search in an employee meeting in Spanish and my English speaking were like, what does that feel like? Well, that's what that feels like there. So,
that's true. You know, that's a good point. I can share a little more about that. You know, we founded the Latino Business Alliance in 2010. It's a nonprofit, and it's really was to create a network of Latino small business owners that had, you know, unique challenges. And back then, people didn't get the concept of what we were doing, but it's finally now funders and people are starting to understand that it's more about the person and then being able to self-employ themselves, put food on the table with whatever tools they had. And a lot of these business owners had extra challenges, documentation, their education from other countries wouldn't translate here, language issues, so that's where it started. We set the foundation and then we let the people create the magic. And the introductions, bilingual introductions, are really important part of that. It seems simple, but what it does is it gives the non-Spanish speakers, so people that just speak English, they have to introduce themselves in both languages, and they're going to do it in front of a crowd of people. And they're going to struggle. They might get a little nervous. They might mess up, but then people pitch in to help. But we do that because it gives them an idea of what people go through every day. So they're feeling it. And then at the same time, the Latino small business owner that speaks primarily Spanish, they'll come up to me and they'll say, Jose, I can't believe so many people are willing to put themselves out there to reach me. So I feel valued in these meetings, and it's paid off. So it's cool that you've taken that to your organization.
It's great. We've taken it to all of them. And even the convention center, we have those translation machines now. It's wonderful. It's that whole butterfly effect. And it's that one little bite of the apple, and then you're doing all these things. And I am so appreciative of it. And I know that you have foundations, so tell me about those.
Foundation, well, I do, one of the things I do, people ask me, what do I do for fun? Well, we established a scholarship foundation where we provide scholarships to low income and underrepresented students. We started off at a high school in Eugene, California High School, and I went and attended one of their graduations. And I saw that it was a small school at the time. Only 10 kids graduated. They were just getting started. And 3 of the kids got scholarships and the other kids didn't. And I thought to myself, that's not right, because I thought about myself when I grew up and some of the things that I experienced, seeming like people don't care about you. There were people that was betting against me. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. Where I grew up, the options of success were very limited because there was no mentorship, there was no programs that I was aware of at that time. And I decided that when I saw those 3 kids only get scholarships, that I was going to do something about it. So I got together with some like-minded folks and we formed it's called the Oregon Black Education Foundation. We have been providing scholarships and laptop computers fully furnished to kids for about 13, 14 years now. So far, we have given out in computers and cash scholarships over $125,000. It's not bad. That's part-time what I do for fun.
Yeah. No, and those few thousand make a big difference because they come at the right moment.
It does.
Oh,
and
man.
we got some kids that's going to graduate now. Got 5. Our scholarships started off with $500 scholarships. Now we're doing $1,000 scholarships, but I've even increased that $1,000 per year for 4 years. That's how I track the graduation success rate of the students.
That's genius. Yeah.
And those computers, the University of Oregon, every so often, so many years, they donate their computers to this program or this company. It's nonprofit, Next Step Recycling. They go back in, they gut them out, and then they reload them with all the bells and whistles of all the latest software. And those students take those. Some of the students don't have a computer in their home. So it's really critical to give them access to that while they pursue not just higher ed, but if they want to go into a certification program or learn something different, skilled labor, something like that. I don't believe that any kid should be just limited to saying, if you don't go to college, then that's the end of your career. We have to open up the doors and make sure that they can reach out as far as they can to achieve their own success.
Fantastic.
We might have to replicate and duplicate that one.
Yeah. No, I could only imagine the results, Senator, from that. Especially the laptop. Like you said, I think when everything went virtual is when you realize, how much you do need that computer. I bet they're helping their parents, they're helping their family sometimes through that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and then you're absolutely correct, because when they want to go out, they want to do job searches and stuff. Everything right now is accessible through the internet, right? So, and it does help their families too. So, it's my way of just saying to all the kids out there are no throwaways. If we don't get involved to show these kids that somebody actually cares for them and that we're willing to invest in their future, things are going to fall apart. Remember, they're the leaders of tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to do that.
Yeah. I truly believe that every child is one caring adult away from being a success story.
Exactly. Now, I was just thinking the other day that there's a kid in high school today that's going to be the next governor. I mean, he's out there. He or she's out there right now.
And we believe in you.
Yeah. So they're out there.
Could be you.
No. I'm definitely here to support whoever, maybe you, Senator.
Well, I got to tell you, I never in my wildest imagination growing up thought that I would ever be an Oregon State Senator. Sometimes the good Lord has a way of preparing you for ways to do good things that you're not used to or don't even foresee it happening.
That's true. That's
you know how to make God laugh, right?
Yeah. Create your own plan.
It's true. Okay, I'm going to switch topics just for a second. What is a childhood meal that you still have?
Oh, that's a good one. What's funny is, so my mom's from Mexico, and we always grew up at holidays having chicken, mashed potatoes, ham, and all my other Mexican friends, they're like tamales and chicholata. And I'm like, Mom, why are we eating American food? And all my family, all these friends, they're having all this awesome Mexican food. And he's like, Jose, I got here in the 70s. I got here young. I went to work for a catering kitchen, and I learned American food. I didn't know how to cook Mexican food.
Tamales.
And then second, there were no ingredients to make these things. So it's just good old fashioned turkey, ham, and I still eat that, to a certain point.
Do you have a favorite sandwich, like a kid sandwich? I like bologna and cheese.
Good old fashioned grilled cheese sandwich. Mm-hmm. Good old fashioned.
What about you, Senator?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, grilled cheese sandwich sounds pretty good. Toasted, yeah. I don't know. I do recall Fridays. My mom always fried fish.
Oh.
I don't know why. She always fried fish, mashed potatoes, and some green veggies and stuff on the side. But I never knew why. She never explained why. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So now the fish was jack mackerel. It's a different kind of fish. You can fillet it and there's no bone in it.
Oh.
Yeah, really good.
Spineless fish.
Well, it did have the spine. So yeah.
So when I was thinking about both of you two today, from what I know about you, you have a unique talent to navigate and bring people into the middle. You've done it at City Council. I've watched you do it at the Senate. And what are the tools you use when you have both sides kind of barking in your ear?
Well, for me,
and barking is kind of, maybe they're not barking, but you're getting the texts or the phone calls, and you really are trying to do good. You're just good human beings.
Yeah, no, believe me, it's even at the city level, I could imagine what a senator goes through at the state level. I can't imagine. Maybe I can't imagine.
I think you can.
So he has no hair. You have hair.
That's true. Well, it's still there. You're right. But I think it's what's helped me, at least at this level, is trying to get to know everybody personally, just as as much as we could. The problem when I started, it was during COVID, so I couldn't meet with any of them. So it was really hard to build a relationship with them. But what I always do is, as soon as I hear some new information, I know I'm going to judge it. I know my reaction is going to be one or the other. But I just wait a little bit. I just think about it, and I'm like, what? I'm going to put myself in their position, and because if I was to react really quickly, it'd probably be a little uglier. But I let it come in, and I think about where they're from, what they've gone through that's different than mine, and then I just let it sit for a while.
How long?
It could be overnight.
Mm-hmm.
It could be an hour. I mean, it's just however long it takes me to at least be able to say, okay, I can see why they want that.
And
You know,
maybe
and
anyone
maybe-
that's watching, like,
Yeah.
give it a good 10, 12 hours
Yeah,
before we
exactly.
react.
Yeah. And then at least I try to figure out is it coming from them from a good place of where, or is it just their reaction, maybe some hate, but is it coming from a true place for them? And whether I agree with it or not, I have to take that into consideration. Yeah. And so that's where I start, and then from there, just I share back.
Well, I think that in the years that I watched you,
Mm-hmm.
you really navigated that space professionally and personally
Mm-hmm.
to where you see the good, you see where you're coming from. And such a great example.
Yeah, thanks, Soraida. Yeah, there was some tense moments, a few. We got through them.
And how do you navigate that with, that's a whole different world.
Yes.
Like, we're playing in a little pond. You're in like the Pacific Ocean.
Well, it's practice, practice, practice. So, well, my background is I'm a former police officer. So I dealt with the public in some of the most heated times of relationships, and you have to be able to listen. And my time in the U.S. Army, I am a certified Army mediator. So when I got out there, I took those skills that I learned as an assistant inspector general, and I took those skills and experience from the military back to civilian life. And I did some practice for Lane County Circuit Court. I did mediation for them for 3 years, mediated over 300 sessions, only 5 that had required the judge to make a decision about where they need to go to. And those skills also taught me the best way to learn from others is to go out and talk and listen. Not talk, but listen. So my district, I brag and boast and joke about it, that I have the best Senate district in the state of Oregon because it's urban and rural. And it really is. But what I do is that I go out and I listen. I don't go out, I don't make promises. Promises can be broken. And that's the last thing you want to do is to try to make a promise on something and you can't come through with it. But when you listen to people and find out what it is that they're needing, what's missing in their lives, how can I help improve their lives? I don't have that magic wand where I can make everything all right. If I did that, then everything would be fine. But people want to know that they're being listened to. And sometimes, when you're in the process of listening, certain disagreements may come. But being open, like in my office, everybody's welcome. I don't care. And when I'm in the office in Salem, in the Capitol, it's not about politics. It's being public servant. So I have to listen to everybody because my vote that I cast represents all Oregonians. And I try to make the best that I can with the information that I have. Sometimes I may not get it right, but then I try to fix those when I don't get it right.
So what pulled you to be a public servant, do you think?
Well, it was honestly just people asking, because my opinion of serving in office based on my parents' feedback from other countries, from Mexico and what they saw, it was most people got into it for corruption, to take advantage. And so when people would ask me, because I'd be volunteering wherever I could, people would ask me, I would think, why are they asking me? I'm not going to take. I'm not here to take. Why are they asking me to run? I actually am here, honestly, just genuinely trying to help. And it took me a while to understand that, the opinions that my parents had about politics, maybe were a little off. Because here there was a chance. I saw a chance through volunteering and meeting other people like you, Soraida, that there's people just wanting to help, just to help. And they're not expecting anything. So there is an opportunity. And so it was just people asking me, feeling comfortable with that decision. And then it took me 10 years to make that decision. But eventually I just decided to do it because I felt that there was, I wanted to bring the voice of my neighborhood out. I didn't think it was being heard. So I wanted to bring it out to a different level.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
You've done it well. And what about you? I want to be an elected official.
No, actually, I just want to compliment you. You're an amazing man. Your pathway to get you here, while I'm seated beside you, is a gift from God for me to hearing your story because not so dissimilar in so many ways. I was recruited. People asked me to run. And the first time they asked me to run for a House seat, I ran, I lost, and then I got appointed to the Senate the same year.
Oh, really? Oh,
God's plan.
things are meant to be.
Just said God's plan.
Wow.
And since I've been in the Senate, I try to reach out to everyone. I like to build relationships. That building is about relationship building. And even out on the streets, as you know, you're fundraisers. It's all about relationship building. The people that you meet every day, the ones that want to come back and support you because they know that you're doing a cause that's not designed for yourself, but designed to help others. People gravitate to people like that. Well, one example is my nonprofit. In Eugene, I know a lot of people that got a lot of money, and I'm not afraid to ask them for money so I can give to poor kids. And you know what? They want to do it, but they want to know where the money is going. So I hold these events and I bring the kids in so that they can do public testimony, explain what that money, all those scholarships have done for them and how it's changed their lives. Not only that, it keeps them off the streets.
Totally.
Yeah. I think that you both are just such incredible men. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I was just pumped. I feel from, what I know of you and just having that similar background with families that were migrant workers. And who would have thought with all three of us? I think that I want to break down that barrier that we just got here. I shouldn't have never been here. Like, we are anomalies.
Yeah.
100% anomalies.
Yeah. And, and it does matter that we're here. It does matter that people see you. And I learned that when I was running, my signs were up. And I was meeting with my nephew because he was doing car detailing. So I took my car so I can, give him a little bit, put some money in his pocket. And he goes, Tio, I'm so happy that you're running. And I go, oh yeah, I'm excited too. No, Tio, I'm just it just makes me feel really, and he was trying to share something with me, but I was sort of dismissing it as just like, but then at the end he goes, no, just Tio, you don't understand. That's my name on the sign. And then I go, oh shoot. Because we call him Josecito, which is just a version of Jose. His name is Jose Gonzalez, but we always call him Josecito. But I didn't realize that he was seeing that sign, seeing himself.
And just lifting him up. It just lifted his being up.
Yeah. And
that's beautiful.
Yeah. So I think we do more than sometimes the effect is bigger than we think.
That's one of the reasons. I'm glad you pointed that out. Usually before COVID, every end of session, I would go out to visit every elementary school in my district. And I would specifically go after third and fourth graders to listen to them. That's the future right there. And they need to see somebody that looks like me. Contrary to some of the horrors that they may heard or all this other stuff, they find out that, hey, Senator Manning is pretty awesome. The little boys like me because of my time in the military. They want to know, what's the biggest gun you shot?
It's funny.
And all of them, they find out, hey, well, he's a former drill sergeant, so they want to exercise and stuff. So I can't do all of that anymore, but I do go out to the schools. I think it's really important what we do as community leaders, whether we ask for it or not, we're in that spotlight. And what we do, where we go, what we say is important because all eyes are on us.
And I do think that it does matter. And I know that it matters to the youngins. I call them youngins, they're in their 20s. But when I can motivate them and I see somebody at the Y and they're kind of scared about asking for things, but they feel more comfortable because they look like me. I know that makes a difference. It does. People might want to challenge that, and I'm okay with it, but it's true. It is true.
Yeah.
That's one of America's greatest strength is the diversity. Again, my time, I lived in Panama. I lived in Puerto Rico. I've been throughout the U.S. Virgin Islands, Honduras, Jamaica. I did mention South Korea twice, Japan, Australia, New Zealand. All of the commonalities that the diversity of minds but there's something that all humans through my experience, agree upon. Everybody wants peace. They want prosperity. They want good health. And they want to live a good life. That's the universal part of humanity. And it's everywhere I've gone. And I embrace all of the culture of everybody, because how often would I, a kid, poor kid from St. Louis like me, get a chance to visit those many places around the world and learn the language, the culture, sample the foods, the music. Oh, the music.
Now you're talking.
Yeah, the music.
Right.
Hey,
Now you're. First, I was like, gosh, Jose and I thought we were all cool here in Salem. He's like, I've been here. I went to North America, South America. Like, we got to get to work.
Hey, I can salsa.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was in Puerto Rico, hey, salsa.
You have to. Yeah. It sounds like you took it all in, and maybe one day you can do a tell-all book.
I'd have to have somebody read it first.
So here's a question that I just thought about. What do you think, because I will just put it out there, I grew up poor. My mom had me a week after she turned 15. What do you think that brings? And I know that we came from humble beginnings. How do you think that's affected our life? And would we be different people if we would have came from a life of privilege?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's definitely, it's stayed with me, and I never felt poor. Like I never did.
Neither.
Right.
Me neither.
But you could see things differently around you. And like I said, I think it took us being more of an adult to actually see the difference and the effect and how those things can compound. So now I can see it in people that, what they're going through, what we did. And I'm hoping that I can, like you said, at that 3rd, 4th grade level, just some of those in pivotal moments where you can come in and help them. And then that way they can, hopefully take some steps to better their lives. So I think if anything, it's just helped me be able to identify those opportunities in those people and be able to talk to them genuinely, say, you can also do X, Y, and Z because I was right there. But here are some things, here are some pitfalls that you're that are coming up.
And aren't you so happy that your life was the way it was? I'm so happy that I can appreciate and know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, being a small business owner, I mean, there's good days and bad days. And so I try to live simply, just like I might deal with my parents. And that's really given me a little more peace. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My road was a little bit different. My parents were separated forever, ever since I've known. But I knew both my parents. I was the 5th child of 10. And I was the kid that nobody actually cared anything about, I was told that I would never amount to anything by my dad, But what I learned, and at times I was homeless. I had no place to stay but something just kept telling me that I always went to school because it was a safe place to be in school. I participated in a lot of athletics, kept me out of streets, things like that. But what I found, and I gave a seminar on this, how not to be a leader. Well, that spun from my own lived experience. There were a few angels along my path that helped me when I was out on the streets homeless, took me in. I never did get pulled into the DHS system or anything like that. When I was hungry, there were people that fed me. And I decided that no other child should ever experience in life what I went through. So that's how I formed my foundation. And the bills, one of the first bills I'm proud to say that I did here and supported was a bill that said that every child in Oregon eats from the same hot meal, regardless of the family's financial ability, regardless of their status, because hunger should not be a barrier to learning. I think that that's really important. I remember my time where I didn't have food, standing outside the cafeteria while my classmates went in. I thought that that was wrong. And for some other reason, I decided that I'm in a position now where I can make a change. And that's why I put forth policies and things that I do specifically to help kids. Make sure that if they're having problems, I will help. I will try to find resources for them. And if I don't get the resources, I'll provide something temporary until I can get them there. But we have to do better by the kids that we have that's growing up now. And that means that it starts at an early age. That's the reason why I go out to 3rd and 4th graders. Today I had about 50 kids from my district show up to 4 high schools. Second time this group, another group from the same schools came up. So I get kids coming from my school district all the time. And what I do, I go out, I greet each one of them, and I shake their hands. Some of those kids now are getting ready to graduate college. I'm giving away my age a little bit now. So. But, and they tell me one kid, well, he's a young adult now, he said that when he was in California High School, he said, you gave me a computer. He said, I want you to know that computer is still working.
Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being vulnerable and telling us a little bit about your past. You really are a true life Superman. I aspire to make that difference.
Yeah. In any way we can help you with that foundation, you let us know.
Yeah, we're there. I was saying, can we learn IT and put computers together?
Well, I appreciate it. Right now, we're going through a transition. My deceased wife, she used to be the treasurer, so she's been gone to be 4 years in June. As a matter of fact, it was so strange how it happened. We had gone to a high school graduation, gave out scholarships, went home. The next morning, I woke up and she was gone. I'm like, how does that even happen? So I know about tragedy. I know about trauma. And I fight just as hard for anybody else so that they don't experience those things. Let them know you can talk to me. Veterans that are out there contemplating suicide or harm to themselves. I tell them there's nothing wrong with getting help. And I do it by demonstration. I get therapy so that they know there's nothing wrong with that. That's a true sign of courage, seeking help. Talk to a friend. I recall a buddy of mine, he went over to Iraq, came back, horrible stuff. And he had a job. And he was calling me up because the people on the job didn't understand that this is a war veteran that has some scars. And they were pushing him. And he called me up and he told me, they don't know I was an ordnance officer. He said, I have some things. I knew what kind of things he had. I talked to him every day for about a month till he came down off that ledge. And that made me feel like I had something to give back. But oftentimes, people just want to talk to someone. They don't want feedback. They just want you to listen. And that's a skill set that you have. You certainly have. And people that actually care about people, that's a skill set, to be able to listen and not comment, non-judgmental. And our lived experiences taught us that.
So how do we, if somebody's watching this podcast, if they maybe don't have the time, they're just trying to live their lives and raise their children, and maybe they're a single parent, and maybe they have kids, what kind of advice would you give them if they are thinking, I can't make that kind of a difference? So what would you say, this is how you can make a difference?
It's probably the easiest thing to say and do, but it's hard. And it's just to find some peace in your day. And just, because there was time in my life where things were a little hard and time flies. And there's some years I don't remember very much. I don't remember my kids. I work too much, trying to dig myself out of a hole. And so today I try to tell my friends and family that are having a difficult situation, how can we slow you down? Because you're always in a rush, and just how can you slow down? How can you find some peace and just know things will get better, but just find some peace today. That way you can raise your kid to feel a little and be in a little more of a peaceful setting. And because if not, we're passing that trauma onto them. We're just passing that hustle mentality that, it's I understand it, but it's just, it's going to dig ourselves into a hole. So they have it today. Just find some peace and try to pass that on to your kids.
I think that's great, because I think that we can get wrapped up where I'm not going to be able to travel 10 countries. Like, I'm not going to be able to do that. But how can I, that anybody's listening, and what does that look like for me? If I'm listening as a single mom, I'm going to find some peace in my day. So find some peace in your day. Now, what about you?
Well, I like what Jose said. His approach is he's coaching. He's listening and he's coaching, and that is a great approach. I had mentioned about listening. Oh, by the way, let me throw in Canada too.
Okay, that's it. Shout out to Canada.
Yeah, the Canadian, a ministry came to visit me in my office this past week and stuff.
Oh, man, Jose, we might have to go to his office.
You've already been to my office when you were in the Capitol.
Yes.
Yeah. Senator Thatcher gave you one heck of a shout out too. That was under courtesies. I was like, well, she did all of that. So
you got to get Jose. You got to do a shout out for Jose on the Senate floor.
I invite you to the Senate. I'll take you out on the Senate floor with me and introduce you. You've got an amazing story.
Especially with Latino Business Alliance.
Senator.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Be great.
Just let me know. We're getting short, almost sine die. So you got a couple of more weeks to make up your mind when you want to do it.
Yeah,
perfect. Thank you.
We'll get that taken care of. House, it's amazing. It'll be so special. And started from the bottom. Now we're here.
No doubt.
So I had a few people would come to me with their issues and stuff. And I would explain to them that I can't give any advice, because if I gave them some advice and it went awry, they would be ticked off at me forever and a day. Sometimes I would take a situation and say that if I was in this situation, I would probably respond in this way, but don't do it like I did it, because we're all different. And I'll just offer an option, but I encourage you not to do that option. You have to come up with your own decision, because at the end of the day, it's what's going to make you happy. And if I say something, you took my advice and it went wrong, I'm in a lot of trouble. We'll probably have a severed relationship. And that's not what I intend to do with anybody. So it's hard trying to give advice to anybody. Coaching, perfect. I encourage that, because I coach as well. Coaching is like, this is how I might respond to this, but then go on and say, but don't do it like I did it, consider other options and stuff, and then put it back on them. What do you think would be the best way for you to do this? And let them figure it out for themselves.
That's a great point, Senator. I also sometimes worry about giving advice because my life's completely different. So I 100% agree with that. That's great.
Yeah. Look at what we learned today, right? We got the wise old owl over here. I mean, wise owl. I didn't mean wise old owl.
Sure you did.
Edit that.
Okay. Cut that out, Camden. Cut it out.
Who? Cut that out.
I would love for you today to talk about first, you, Senator, will have the second part of it, but what it's been like developing a small business with the ciders and whatnot, and then how you encourage small businesses.
Before we do that, can I have a sip?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've been sitting down there looking at this, Right?
As long as they're talking, they cut out the audio.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. And the name is amazing.
Yeah.
This is delicious.
Thank you. The Salem.
You should serve this at the Capitol.
That's possible. That's true. No, so I think it started two different places. One is our family had a restaurant. We opened for my mom in 2003 because she, as many Mexican moms, we think the food's the best, so we're going to open up the best restaurant. And we did, but then what happened was she had an aneurysm while she was working in the kitchen. They had to life flight her to OHSU, and she was in a coma for 6 months. Well, she's still with us today, not the same, but that was a a hard lesson for us. We lost everything, but I just remember how it felt to have that small business. And the other part that I would say planted the seed for this is when we were farm workers, especially strawberries. At the end of the day, I don't know if you know how it works, but you especially in strawberries, you had to show up early, claim your aisle, and then just finish it. Like you had to be, no matter how long it took that day, until that day. And then at the end of the day, they put all these crates on a big old rickety truck, and it just takes all the strawberries. And I remember being a little kid and looking at that truck and saying, because there was a lot of people picking that day, man, there's everybody's energy and effort is going in that truck. Like where? And I used to ask myself, where does all that fruit go? Not knowing that it was in products like this. So in 2016, as my wife and I were enjoying craft beer and started getting to know craft cider, she said, too bad there aren't any with the flavors we grew up with. And I said, Dad.
It's like hot Cheetos.
Yeah, there you go. It's the same story. So I'm like, heck yeah, that'd be awesome. And we looked it up. We're like, there's got to be some. There has to be. And sure enough, there were none. And so then I said, well, you know what? We'll do it ourselves. And, that was about November of 2016. And by Cinco de Mayo of 2017, it was on store shelves. I mean, in the La Familia, what took me a while, it was right in front of me, the name, because this is my wife, my mom. Actually, my mom, she's the one that made the original recipe to the hibiscus. It was her flavor. It was her juices.
Love that.
Yeah, that we use and to make the original batch and the flavor. And my kids work at our tap rooms. My daughter manages the Salem one. My son manages the Portland one. And now we have our cider in California. We've expanded. It's growing.
We need to get you there, Senator. We got to get a picture of you in front of it.
Yeah, and the name was right there. And it just took me a while. And I'm like, family, but I'm going to do it in Spanish, La Familia. So it was just, it was all right there. I just had to put it together.
And what were the challenges that, I'm not going to make it political, but how do you feel about being a small business owner? Do you feel, okay, I'm super supported in Oregon, or, hey, Senator, next time you're out next session, help me out with this?
No, I think if you just follow the life cycle of a product, this is based on apples. It's an apple, it's an agricultural product. We had to import some of these flavors from other countries initially because there was no tamarindo, the hibiscus. These flavors they're not here, so we had to, get some in. Canning some of these products, especially aluminum, these are real sensitive to different things. Tariffs too. Anything. It really it directly impacts us.
That was my next question.
Because we're buying things at small scale. We're not a big company that can pre-negotiate.
Where are you? Who's canning?
Well, the cans come from, they're just a lot of the same cider, craft beer and cider companies use local companies that just, and these are actually wrapped. The labels are actually wrapped. But I would say there's a couple of things. One is just promoting these businesses like ours, in every level, because people will look at this and say, well, this is a Mexican product. Let's put it on the Mexican shelf. Or no, this is just good cider. So it should be everywhere. So I think it's just, leaders looking around, and that's why we also brought our friends, homies from Chicha Brewing, some of their beer. Same thing. They're just putting out some good beer, and it just needs a little more exposure. And that's it.
And I think it's about lifting each other up. That just reminded me. Yeah. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago when I was the chair of the Y, one of the signature events. And I said, we don't have a cider and I want La Familia cider. And everybody was so exposed. And that makes me so happy. You're just doing these amazing things. And if we keep continually to just lift each other up, it's so much easier to lift each other up.
Yeah.
And if we do that with everyone that's around us, what a amazing, we have so many amazing people in our community. Yeah. And if we keep doing that.
Yeah. And that's
the places will go.
Yeah. That's where I leave it up to, our expert here, Senator, but small business credits, tax credit, little things like that really help us a little bit. We're going to get it done, but it's just those little things, because even though this is a local cider, we're competing against Modelo, Corona. And one day I'll have to share with you the trademark battle we had with Corona. I'll have to share that with you one day. That was a good story.
That's part 2. Yeah. You'll both be back. I'm so about it. So how do you deal with small business owners when they come to you? You give them 15 minutes. You got 15 minutes. Go. Here's the clock.
Actually, small businesses, especially in my district, we're talking about Ninkasi's brewers. We're talking about, I got a lot of craft brewers in my district. And they've been supportive of me, of my nonprofit and stuff, So getting out, making sure that anything that I have on my website and stuff, then I make sure I display them, give them the credit and stuff, because without their support, then, my nonprofit would really flounder quite a bit. Your product that you have here is awesome.
We're going to take a picture of you with the can.
Exactly. Yeah,
Senator Manning loves the guava.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't look as elegant as you do. But I myself, I never thought about going into business for myself. Now, my son, he has a business. He has a cleaning company that he does. He contracts out with banks and things like that. So he's very successful. And I'm proud of him. It's just that you're talking about a soldier, an old soldier, former cop, I never had and then I also, I'm an adjunct professor, so I teach.
Oh, here he goes. There's more.
I don't know. I've experienced a lot of things in my life. Yeah, I teach graduate and undergraduate courses in organizational leadership. I haven't been teaching since I've been in the Senate because it requires time. So as a former drill sergeant, things like that, I'm more people-oriented, maybe motivating people or guiding people, coaching. That's pretty much what I do, but also reaching out to find out how I can help small business. Your business, I love to help out. That's why I'm inviting you to come over, and I can talk a little bit about your product and stuff,
Can you hand these out, like put them on all the Senate little desks?
Of course I can.
You can?
Yeah.
And we'll make it fun. We'll do something. We'll do. I appreciate that, Senator.
Yeah. Drive some business your way and stuff,
It will be great.
Yeah.
You wear a La Familia shirt? No,
I couldn't wear it on the floor because then I'd be trying to promote something that's against the decorum of the Senate stuff,
That's Mexico.
I know. You're being a troublemaker. That's true.
But I can display it in my office.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. There you go, man.
Yeah.
So fun. I love that so much. I just adore you both. I love your story. So I always wrap up. I'm going to definitely have both of you back. What keeps you up at night?
That's a good question. Maybe the senator wants to go first.
Mine is easy. Budgets. We are now a third of our state budget is being held up. And we have all these programs that we have to fund. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, SNAP, some of these other programs that SSI, some of the veterans things that are out there that's being held up. This is the stuff that bothers me. How do we, with the money that we have, which is very limited right now, how do we best use this? We got levees that needs to be, upgraded and stuff that could fail. We got roads and stuff. This is a big project. Again, I don't just represent my district. I represent all of Oregon. And I'm concerned about all Oregon. My rural communities are losing healthcare centers and things. How do we deal with that? And it impacts some of our farmland workers, our farmer workers. I've been doing bills and stuff to try to take the pressure off of them, make sure that they're getting health care, making sure that they got transportation to and from, don't have to worry about fear. So a lot of this thing, the current legislative atmosphere out of DC, that keeps me up.
What about you, Jose?
I think the experience I had at the Salem City Council opened the door to see how things work behind the scenes, because you don't know. You really don't know unless you're in there. So as I look around at the city of Salem needing funding, the school district in a budget, the state, the Chemeketa Community College, I think I sort of start worrying about, even my family. What's the future going to look like? Because, not everything's going to get done.
Or your grandkids. And what does that school district look like for your grandkids?
And it's really going to be up to us to say, what kind of community do we want? And I'm just hoping that the right voices are there. So then that community is somewhere where our kids can be successful and our nephews and nieces, and they can find success too. So I worry about all those effects down at our level, just the individual family level. Because I think there's only, especially in Northeast Salem, there's only so much that can be squeezed there. The incomes are already tight, so I think it's on this end of it, I'm worrying about it. But thank you for sharing that, Senator, because that's real.
That's real. And that touches all of us, regardless of who we are, where we live. Eventually it's going to touch, if it doesn't touch each of us directly, indirectly, or someone we know,
or employees or residents, or
businesses and stuff, that are trying to make it. There's so much, but I don't want to get into anything politics or anything like that. It's just that I am really concerned, and I do care. That's why I do what I do. I'm a volunteer. This work that I do is a volunteer. If I didn't stand up and go out and campaign after somebody recruited me, of course, and I'm blessed to be here, and the people put me back in here. So apparently I'm doing something that the people like. Someone asked me years ago, how long do I plan on staying in the Senate? My answer was very simple. The people will let me know.
Good answer.
Yeah, that's a great answer. What a blessing you are, Mr. Senator. Just mind blown. We're over here just taking notes.
Yeah.
Jose, we can do better.
I know.
We've got 2 more hours this week. What is something in your district or where you live, your neighborhood, that you want people to know that you're super excited about? Like a secret, like you didn't go to that restaurant or try this product. My would be this.
It's a good question. I think it's still, to me, is, people would always say, Jose, did you run to represent Northeast Salem because they're having problems, there's issues, they need help? I go, no. I ran because I see the people that live there, how hard they work, their level of awareness, their ability to save money and spend, the way they treat each other as family. I really wanted to take that voice out there. So really the secret of Northeast Salem is just the people. I mean, they are hardworking and setting aside income. I mean, the best people in Salem and are in Northeast. Just
La Familia.
Yeah. They're family. They're family. That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in Eugene, we have La Familia. Yeah.
That's good, man. That's good. I heard that.
Yeah, we had, it's now changed. It was Central Latino Americano. They have now merged to an immigration center and others to help people get. And one of the things that I'm really proud about, when we had the ARPA funds that came, American Plan Rescue Act, each state senator got $4 million. Every House member got $2 million for in-district projects. I gave Central $1 million to help with the merger of that. And now they've got the building, they're putting it together.
Oh my gosh. Who did I invite on this show, Jose?
I know. I'm in shock. That is awesome.
They need
the real true life Superman.
Yeah. They needed to know that I represent them as well. Like I said, I represent everybody. And that part of my community, part of my district, was not getting the help that I felt that needed. So I wanted to make a difference and stuff. I also gave to my law enforcement, my police department, they needed a new incident command vehicle. I told the chief, I said, send me the script, the cost of everything, all the bills, and was no add-ons later on. Came to just shy of $900,000.
Oh, so
for them. So
law enforcement and Latinos. Anything else?
Of course,
You had $2 million left. What else did you do?
Well, there's some pooling money to help kids out and stuff, in different programs and things like that. I think if you're going to serve the people, you might as well do it the right way. And I look for the ones that really need the help. Former police officer, I want to make sure our officers are going to work, and at the end of the day, they can go home to their families. That was a gift, a promise that I made to myself when I rode patrol. And children that was out there struggling on the streets need a place to go. So I want to give housing for them to get them off the street, my lived experiences. So a lot of things I do is directly tied to who I was previously as a child growing up. So, and I forgot the question now.
You more than answered it.
Yeah, you more than answered it. Right now, I'm just looking at Jose. I'm like, dude,
I'm looking at you, Soraida.
I'm like,
What's
we
up?
need to do better. We got to get an action plan going on.
Yeah.
We got goals.
No, yeah, and it was about what's good in our district or our area, and those are great. Or the fact you did that, and I'm hoping that on that truck, they have your face on it.
They have my deceased wife's name on it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love
They got it
that.
written out and stuff, So every time they activate it, they say, "Okay, let's roll Lawanda." So her name is on the side of the vehicle itself. I think it's a state of the art. It is awesome and stuff. I was there for the unveiling and everything else. It is amazing. The thing is being able to make sure that we take police officers away from situations that they're not trained to do and bring in more people that are designed for counseling, mental health, first responders in those areas. I want to try to make things right, get it from where it was. When I was a police officer, I was everything. I was a family counselor and stuff, domestic violence. I did all these other things. Not trained to do that, but reactive. And when we're always trained to be on guard all the time. Well, every situation doesn't require that. So now policing in Oregon has really improved. You talk to the sheriff, it has changed considerably for the betterment. We stop things like one headlight out, one tail light out. It's not cause for a stop. It's not. So, and there are other things that we're doing. I'm proud of law enforcement in Oregon. DPSSG has got new standards that they're enforcing, holding accountability. The thing about it is that everything that we do, there's a layer of accountability that should be attached. Often it's not. That's what's missing. That's how things go off the rails.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
What do you think about that?
No, yeah. I mean, the ability to. Let me take it back. I was born here, raised here, grew up in the Willamette Valley, and I've always been a pretty good kid. Never really got in trouble. But if you were to ask me how many times I got pulled over, I think it was over 60. I think I added it up, and I stopped counting after 50 something.
Are you kidding me?
No, and like I said, maybe 3 or 4 tickets, speeding tickets, but never nothing serious. But just it was. I like to have nice cars that came from the lowrider area, so we had lowrider
Your brother
cars.
has lowriders,
Yeah,
right?
so
You told me about that.
So we always had, we were fancy. We were out there, and obviously it caught the wrong kind of attention. But so some of those minor things, let's let them focus on what they're good at and where the people really need them. I mean, that's where I know that they feel happy because I have conversations with them. They don't want to be dealing with improper fenders or tinted windows. They don't want to. So I'm hoping that and you're right. It's better today.
And it's going to get better too as we
It
continue
will.
on. I got to tell you, we got some of the best state troopers, bar none, across any state. I know. I talk to them all the time, and they're doing great things and stuff. I've been stopped by a trooper a time or two, but I was wrong. I was speeding. I admitted it. Fortunate enough, I got let off with a warning, and I slowed down.
So it worked. It worked there.
Yeah.
I just am I'm in super awe of you, Senator. I've always just appreciated our friendship, and
Likewise.
I just love that there is just amazing people in our community that provides this 100% circle of care, and you are such an inspiration to those that you touch.
Thank you.
And I like your cider.
Perfect. I'll take it.
I like a cider.
They set a timer for me. I'd love to have both of you back if you can. I know that you're super busy, Senator, and so are you. I'm so excited about knowing that you'll be out on the Senate floor.
Yeah.
And I think that for anybody that's watching or listening, I want them to know that these leaders in our community are real people with real experiences. Sit down and have conversations with them, get to know them, and know that we as human beings are so good, and take your tools or whatever God has given you and don't make a plan and just go with it, right? And good conversations happen at the kitchen table.
There you go.
Thank you for being here. Big shout out and a big thank you to Valor Mentoring that recorded the video and audio for this podcast, Changing Lives That Change Lives. And thank you to Remodeling by Classic Homes for sponsoring this podcast. Thank you so much for joining us at the kitchen table with Soraida and friends. Please follow us on social media. You can find this podcast on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your podcast.